It's Sunday, 29th of June 25, and I'm just looking. Glastonbury's on. We've passed mid-year, and I'm just asking Google Gemini, do you think Keir Starmer will last very long as Prime Minister? Because there is talk now, even in the Daily Mail, MPs are moving against him, but I don't think anyone's said it publicly yet, but someone said privately, an MP privately to the Daily Mail. And probably Angela Rayner must be the favourite, either her or West Streeting, I don't know. But anyway, I think he must be the worst Prime Minister ever in terms of strategy, keeping his own side on board. I mean, he seems to have burnt all his bridges. He's annoyed the right and even his own party, I don't know how he got elected in the first place. I don't know how he got elected as leader because when he was with he became an MP, 2010 or something. Before that, he was prosecutor, or was it 2015, 2015 even, maybe? I don't know. But he decided to go into Jeremy Corbyn's cabinet, even though it seems that he doesn't believe in anything that Jeremy done, and he dislikes Jeremy, even though he said he was a friend and at the time. And because of all that, he should have been elected by the Labour members, because Ed Miliband opened the Labour membership up. Anyone could join for £5 or something. It might even have been £1 to vote. And a lot of left-wingers joined the Labour Party again. And then in 2015, when they had their leadership campaign, where the members were meant to vote whoever the establishment thought should vote between, they always used to put Jeremy Corbyn, and left-wingers always used to get on the ballot because they would put themselves on it. And they would get enough votes from the other left-wing MPs, like Diane Abbott, John McDonnell, Jeremy Corbyn. They would take turns, in fact. So Jeremy was on a ticket for 2015. He was expected to not get anything because the establishment thought they had it wrapped up. But because they'd let in so many members for £1 to vote, lots of left-wingers had joined and they all voted Jeremy, and he won it easily. I think he tried to try and topple him in 2017, but he won again easily or something. I can't remember. But anyway, Keir Starmer, using all his wisdom, decided to go in with Jeremy Corbyn for his cabinet, even though he didn't seem to believe in anything about him, and he didn't like the guy. He didn't believe in his ways or anything. So that's a red mark already. So then Keir Starmer suggests he becomes a Brexit minister, and he suggests a second referendum. And this is seen as why Jeremy Corbyn lost the 2019 election on Brexit. So you'd think that'd be the end of Keir Starmer, but no, he stands for the Labour, and the members vote for him. I just don't know why. I'm presuming it was the same left-wingers were still in the party for £1. And they've done away with that now, of course, Labour, so that can't happen again. Ordinary people can't join for £1 and vote for who's the leader. Yeah, so Jeremy lost. He get 10 million votes. He get more votes than Keir did in 2024 when he won. He almost get the same percentage vote. The turnout this time was very low at 59% or something. Labour got about 35% of that. Keir got about 9.2 million or something votes. Jeremy in 2019 got about 10 million, I think, maybe more than that. Yeah, so everything about this guy is a loser. He's like a sort of guy I feel that would get in a Tony Curtis movie as the handsome lead, but women don't find him handsome. You know what I mean? He keeps getting handsome lead roles, but women don't find him handsome. I'm just using that as an analogy. Yeah, so I'm just looking at what he's done over the last week. He seems to have burnt all his bridges. There's too many other things I could bring up at the moment. He tried to get rid of Diane Abbott, then he bottled it, then he get rid of two others on the day Rishi Sunak called an election so that they wouldn't have any chance to try and try and object to it or get a membership going, an election going in their own constituency. He done that over two. He nearly lost a seat to a young lady, and the other one was a guy, Russell Moyles, that shouldn't have been there anyway. But I remember him in Parliament when he stood next to a Tory female MP who was going on about I can't remember what it was, but it wasn't really a good look. I won't say anything in case, just in case, but it didn't look very good visually. Yeah, so it just seems a total disaster to me. Not only because he's losing the right, he's losing his own. If he's got any fan base, or he's not got a fan base from what I can see, but among the MPs, I can't think of any MP who would support him. And then this week, it's not actually mentioned here, but so they're going on about the welfare thing, which he's done a U-turn on, or a visual U-turn. He's not really done a U-turn in thing. I think he's going to leave people who have got PIP already. He's going to leave them alone, so he says. So it's not going to be sort of retrospective, that sort of thing. But it's just a total disaster. But the thing I wanted to comment on mainly was that back in May, early May, after the council elections, where reform took a lot of Labour areas, he made a speech which was the strongest on that issue since 1968. And now he's saying he regrets it. He regrets the language. So not only is he saying that to the public, so the public don't know where he stands on that. Also, his speech writers, whoever wrote the speech, the aides, who wrote the speech, why didn't he use his brain and say, no, well, that's not my belief, so I'm not going to say that. And he says also that, I'll see if I can find that actually. I'll let you read this first, what Google Gemini says. This is the flash version of the question I asked. Yeah, the welfare reform rebellion. So he's done a thing like that. I mean, not only does he do U-turns on things he doesn't believe in, like when he was in Jeremy Corbyn's cabinet, and then it was his idea for the second referendum in Brexit, and then when he became leader, he says, I'm not doing a second referendum, So even in his own idea, he's U-turning. But he totally believes in this welfare reform thing, and now he's doing quite a bit of a U-turn, not fully, a visual one, an optical one he is doing. And yeah, he's doing a U-turn and stuff he believes in, which isn't very left-wing anyway, and the stuff he doesn't believe in, like for when he stood in Jeremy Corbyn's cabinet. So he's totally all over the place. I would say he does seem, there's been quite a few not very good prime ministers, like Theresa May. Liz Truss, I don't know, she never got long enough, but it didn't look good the way she was handling it. I'm not even sure how she get kicked out now, I thought we lived in a democracy. Who kicked her out? Yeah, but Keir Starmer seems the only one that I dislike. You know what I mean? I'm talking about all the ones I can think of. Even if I don't agree with them, even like Thatcher. I've got more respect for Thatcher than most of them, really. John Major, Tony Blair. Great respect for Tony Blair. Gordon Brown. Tony Blair says he's a nutcase, I think, but David Cameron, good respect for him. Theresa May, I thought she was an idiot, but I've got respect for her. She's a nice person. Boris as well. He was a bit of an idiot as well. The Boris waves and things. So he done the opposite. He left Brexit and done the opposite of what we voted Brexit for, basically. But Keir seems to be the nastiest one. I think of him as nasty and double crossing. So I don't know how good he was at a prosecutor fiscal or whatever he was, crime prosecution, but he seems very sort of incompetent to me. He's the kind that sort of pulls off. You think he's got an air of confidence, but when you actually look at the stuff he does, why? But apparently his aides and speechwriters are angry at what he said now about that thing. So this might be the final straw from whoever's supporting him. And then he brought that Sue Gray in and he got rid of her. He called the rioters last year the bust-in far people. Far people. Whereas really it just looks like they were locals of all ages, mums and dads and their grown-up kids. Because I saw quite a lot of that in Rotherham and whatever, and it looked to me just like local Labour, traditional Labour voters really. So he's got totally everything wrong, and they've got an inquiry going on about the riots now, and I think he's going to come out really bad about that as well, you know. And then he's locked people up for tweets and whatever. Yeah, saying distraction by foreign affairs, that's just a red herring, you know, because he's been at the G7 and NATO summit, so that doesn't count. Financial implications. Yeah, it's going to cost a lot because he was trying to save money now. Because he's already done a U-turn on the winter fuel payment, which was a symbolic thing, you know. Personally, I don't think they should do the winter fuel payment because it sort of enriches the electricity companies. Because say green electricity costs £1, gas is the dearest. Gas powered electricity is the dearest, and that costs maybe £1.50. When it goes to the wholesale market, whichever type is dearest, that's got to be the price they all get. So it's usually gas powered that's the dearest. So that's 150. Even if only 1% is going to the grid at that time, they all get £1.50, including the green people, green generators who are maybe costing £1 to make. They're getting £1.50, or they're going to sell at £1. And as Dale Vance says, it's because the gas price is effectively linked to the price of generating electricity because of that. And so we've got that artificial thing. The electricity generating companies may be making 80%, 90% profit, and that's where the winter fuel payment's going to. And what the government are doing is they're saying, okay, you've got an 80% profit, it's costing the people too much. We're going to pay 5% of the bill or whatever, you know. So we're giving you this taxpayer money so that you're not down to 75% profit. No, it's that sort of thing. So really you need to do away with de-link the gas price. It would probably cut bills in half, Dale Vance says, electricity bills. For some reason they don't do it. You'll find that in government there's a lot of things that are strange. Don't think of them as competent. I'm not against government or that, but I just think they are very incompetent as well, in a lot of things. I don't know, they seem lost. And questions about leadership and strategy. Will he be replaced? I mean, Angela Rayner must be the most likely one. I think she's really capable, and it's strange because she comes from a workless family, which she's told us about. Her parents never worked, and then when she became a carer or something, how she get involved with a union, then she get involved with thing. But how was she with benefits? Because I think when she had that registered house in 2009 or whatever, but she was married then. We don't know where she was living. She was married and had another house. Apparently her husband had another house. At that time it seems that her brother was living at where she used to live in. Was that sort of benefit things? Nobody's asked. You know, they've done something like check the voter roll, but check the benefit. Was he on a benefit? Was he paying her? We don't know. Because she knew the system well if she came from a workless household, you know. So it's all very strange, but she's very, very capable. She's funny as well. I would say she's 50 years too late. Because on one issue, she may not even win her seat actually. I think that's going to go in Stoke. And although she might become Prime Minister before then, probably. Or West Streeting, I think. Yeah. So really, he's done quite a few U-turns so far. I mean, he done his U-turn with his Brexit referendum thing. You know, that was his idea, which sunk Jeremy Corbyn in 2019. And then I done a really deep research just to see. It's still going actually. Right, I'm just looking at this speech he made in May on that subject. Yeah, because he made he used this sort of phrase and tone, and I'm asking, are his own side angry about him changing his mind about the speech? What do the aides and speechwriters think? Who wrote it? Keir Starmer has publicly expressed deep regret for using the phrase "island of strangers" in his speech in May 2025. He stated that the language wasn't right and that he wouldn't have used those words if he had known they would be interpreted as echoing somebody's infamous speech in 1968. Anger from his own side. The speech did indeed cause anger and a significant backlash. Yes, because at the time, lots of MPs were angry at him, lots of Labour MPs. Basically all of them, I think. Well, the left-wingers anyway. Migrant advocacy groups as well. Critics within Labour drew parallels, denouncing it as divisive and scapegoating. Some, like the organisation, immediately highlighted the divisive language that scapegoats. The sentiment was that, however, Starmer has also stated that he felt the party became too distant from working class people and things like this, and needed to address the issue. So, Starmer has taken responsibility for the controversial phrase. Yeah, he says he takes full responsibility for it, but he didn't write it. So somebody must have asked to come up with a speech like that. Must have been him. It's just, he gets everything wrong. Because he is blaming his speechwriters, even though he's saying that he's taking full responsibility, And it is his fault anyway, because he could have said, no, I'm not doing that, And then he said also that at the time there was some sort of things going on in his private life that scared him and his wife, apparently. And he's using that as a sort of an excuse for saying the speech. But I don't think that's any excuse at all, because it means that the Prime Minister can be buckled a bit by something like that, because there's a story behind that, or it looks like there's a story behind that, but we've got to wait for the court case now, because in Britain we've got to wait, say, over a year or something for a court case. Then we've all really forgot about it, It's not like America where people can discuss a court case before it's went to court. So you're getting a bit of the public can get their views out and stuff, In Britain we're meant to protect whoever's been charged. It ends up you're sweeping things under the carpet until court cases come up, I think they should do away with that concept. But I think the politicians like it or whatever. He's saying to his sort of biographer, apparently, that he should have read through the speech properly and held it up to the light a bit more. He also explicitly stated that neither he nor his speechwriters were aware of the potential interpretation or the problematic echo of words from 1968. Well, I don't know how, because for most people, they realised that straight away. I mean, I didn't really, but the concept, I would say it's the strongest speech on that issue since 1968, and depending on your view on that, you would have thought that good, or you would have thought it bad. Because we're on YouTube, I'm not going to give a view on it, we don't live in a free speech country, especially under Keir Starmer, who brought out in his own quick, stazzy jailings things where you had to plead guilty and get a very long sentence, like the person who got jailed for Twitter for one tweet or whatever. And I think he also suggested the sort of quick court cases. I mean, these court cases, you were arrested on a Monday, and you were up in court on a Wednesday, and you were told by the law to plead guilty because they were going to give you a harsh sentence, and they gave you a harsh sentence anyway. So, the mistake people made in this is that everyone should have pleaded innocent, really, or not guilty, and just went to court on it. Yeah, apparently he'd done that. I think Keir suggested this in 2011 as well, after the Tottenham riots or whatever, where a young man with quite a criminal record gets shot in his car or whatever in a police chase or something, and I think that caused rioting. And Yeah, I think that was Keir's idea again, sort of quick-fire jailing, rough justice, if you want to call it something like that. But anyway, so back to this. This implies that his speechwriters, according to Starmer, did not intend for the phrase to be interpreted in that way, and were also unaware of its historical resonance. I mean, personally, I'm not even sure I believe him, to be honest, because it was really a tough. It's the toughest speech on this subject, even tougher than Suella Braverman, Nigel Farage, all of them. It was far tougher than them. And he even said, mark my words, if what we do isn't good enough, we're going to do even more. Um, so I don't really know what he's talking now. He's saying as if, no, I regret it, really. He further explained that he was not in the best state to deliver his speech, as he had just learned of an alleged arson attack on his family home hours before the press conference. Was it his family home? I thought it was his former home, and was really worried, almost deciding to do it. He has not blamed his advisors for this mistake. Well, he has really, hasn't he? I think I wouldn't be happy if I was the advisor. You get told to do something, you do it, and now you're saying he wishes I hadn't done it. Who wrote it? Well, the speeches are typically drafted by the speechwriters within the Prime Minister's office. The specific individuals responsible for that particular phrase have not been named. I mean, I think we're all thinking Morgan McSweeney, but I don't actually know. I mean, he was Sue Gray was brought in at the start. She got dumped early on, maybe because of the riot thing, because of the tact that Keir decided to take, which was completely wrong in my opinion. And then he brought in Morgan McSweeney, who was seen as tougher, sort of Dominic Cummings type in a way. But so I don't know if he's getting a blame or what, but I don't know. Starmer's comments indicate that the speechwriters were involved, but he has taken personal responsibility for the final content and its impact, particularly that line which he says he deeply regrets using and was unaware of its problematic connotations. Well, I don't know. Even if he didn't know that, the speech was so strong that I don't think you can change your mind from it, even especially just so soon afterwards. I mean, you're giving out mixed signals. I mean, a lot of people moving from Labour to Reform were probably very happy with the speech, and they were thinking this is even better than Nigel has ever said. And now he's saying he regrets it, so now he's saying, oh, okay, right, I'll go. So, and finally, we'll just take a look at the polls at the moment to see how people are voting, typically. I'm just looking at the last 10 polls on voting patterns in UK. This is Google Gemini. So, well, Reform are way up. I mean, YouGov from June 18th, 25 is saying the Reform would get 271 seats. You need 325 to have a majority. Labour 178. I've seen the Reform way up higher than that. I've seen them up at 380 or something. Labour 178 seats. I've seen them under 100. Lib Dems 81. Tories 46. SNP 38. Electoral calculus are saying that Reform would get from June 25. So that's like 4 days ago. Reform would get 31% of the votes. When you think Labour get 35% at this last election. They would get 377 seats, so outright majority. Labour 22% votes, 118 seats. Tories 19%, 29 seats. Lib Dems 13%, 69 seats. Then Ipsos from June the 4th, 25. Reform 34%. That seems to have been their high point. Reform seemed to have come down a bit, and I'm not sure why. Somebody was saying on the radio, LBC, they were saying they thought Reform was so high at the start of June because Sarah Pochin asked that question in Prime Minister's questions. But I don't know. That's what they thought. Because since then, I think that Britannia card at Reform have come in. There's probably things that people going to Reform don't like, and they're getting the wrong message now. Because Reform seem to have stalled a bit. They seem to have either stopped or came back slightly. And Labour seem to have come up a bit, and I can't understand why. I really don't understand who's voting Labour now. If you're a leftist activist, you should be voting Green or a new party. There was a poll where a Jeremy Corbyn party would get 10%, but they were only taking about 3% off of Labour. They were taking a bit more off of Greens, I think, 4% off the Greens or something. But that's no surprise really, because I think Greens is where socialists should be. Greens and Lib Dem, basically, I think, is where, because Anne Widdecombe says that Lib Dems are more socialist than Labour, and I think so as well. Not that I'm saying that's a bad thing. I respect the Lib Dems, but we're in a different time at the moment, where one issue dominates over everything, and I think if we're heading for anarchy and nothing else matters, so you've just got to vote on the thing that you think is going to create anarchy. You've got to vote against it. So that was Reform were 9 points ahead of Labour, and it was the lowest ever recorded vote share for Tories since 1976. I think that was one poll, and the lowest for Labour since October 2019. And then there was a Sky News YouGov one in June the 23rd. Reform 34%, Labour 25%, Tories 15%. Yeah. Starvation, June the 2nd, that's too long ago. Reform 27, Labour 24, Tories 20. May 25, that's too long. June the 18th, net favourability. I don't know how much difference those sort of polls make, I mean, it's first past the post. The only ones that count are the ones that tell you seats, really. I mean, Labour get 35% of the vote and they get 66% of the seats. So, and there's some others. June the 25th, Reform 30, Labour 27, Tories 19. That's PMG research. Always look at who done the poll. I like Find Out Now the best in the moment. Reform 30, Labour 22, Tories 18. When I say I feel that they're on the pulse more. They were one of the closest for the council elections in May, I think. They looked like they were an outlier because they thought Reform were doing better than the others, but people have said that the other ones tend to use, for the don't knows, they tend to use how they voted traditionally, whereas Find Out Now don't use that. That's what somebody says. I don't know if it's true or not, because Reform's brand new, so you can't really do that. Take from the don't know that are going to vote the old way that they used to between the two parties. So Reform has seen a significant surge. Labour a substantial decline. I don't know how their vote's holding up. Maybe it's newcomers as well, newcomers plus traditional old voters who just vote like a football team, Because, I mean, I think they've lost Durham, Labour, Durham, the place where the coal march started, 1920s, trade union, the Durham Coal Festival thing, Coal Miners Festival. Maybe Labour might not even be invited there now anymore, I think they've all went Reform now, all those old coal mining towns. Green Party maintains a consistent SNP. Yeah, and then ask for percent changes really. So this is 2024. Labour get 33.7% of the vote at the 2024 general election, and they get 66% of the MPs. Tories get 23.7%, Lib Dems 12.2%, Reform 14.3%, and they won 5 seats. So that shows you that the electoral system is a lot of rubbish, not very democratic. Green Party 6.7%, SNP 2.5%. I don't understand how socialists aren't voting for Green, switching from Labour to Green. They are now in a lot of areas. So June the 4th, so Reform were at 34% there. It says 7% there, but that means they were up 20% from the 2024 election. Labour at 25%, they're down 8.7% from the general election. Tories 15%, Lib Dems 11%, Green 9%. So this is a lot more interesting. Voter switching from 2024. 37% of Tory voters have switched to Reform. 12% of Labour voters have switched to Reform, so that's quite big. 8% of Labour voters have switched to Lib Dems. 5% of Labour voters have switched to the Greens, so I'm really amazed that so few have moved to the Greens, if you believe in socialism. But that's quite... So 12% have moved from Labour to Reform. That's quite a big chunk. I mean, that's like 1/8, is it? Yeah, 1/8. YouGov, June 18th, 25. Well, that doesn't really tell us much, really. That's just, we've seen that sort of thing already. Yeah, we've sort of seen that. I was looking for changes over the last month or so, more. Because Reform seem to have stalled a bit, even though they're quite high. And they're in the lead at the moment. They seem to have stalled. They brought Zia back, he left and then he came back. He's came up with the Britannia Care thing. I don't know if that's affected what people are thinking. Yeah, so that's all for just now. I'll leave it at that. Okay, goodbye.